Hello and welcome to my video. In this video I will be talking about how this legend got a huge buff and still somehow managed to lose pick rate. If you don't know, I'm talking about Vantage. And how when she got a buff she climbed from 0.4% pick rate to 3.3% pick rate, then dipped into 0.07% pick rate when she was the worst scan legend out of all, and now is sitting at being almost the lowest picked legend at 0.3% pick rate, just slightly above Seer, Fuse and Ballistic. So, how did this happen? Well, it all began with Season 22 Shockwave, where all scan legends got a huge buff by seeing enemies red and the scan beacon being basically broken by scanning twice, but in lower radius. But one legend got the biggest buff out of all of them, and that is Vantage, with her ult getting buffed with increased damage on the second shot, her Q getting rid of any bugs it had, and her passive working with any scope, even an iron sight. Every Vantage main, including me, got excited. Is this the buff she needed for her to finally be good, be picked, even be the meta? Well, as we can see by her pick rate, I don't think it was. So, what went wrong? Well, at first I think everyone felt like it was a great change. I mean, you could finally two-shot a blue armor whenever, and two-shot headshot a purple armor. That just felt great. Also, the Q didn't have any bugs anymore. It was finally consistent. Her passive was great even for newer players, with you having every person highlighted in red. The scan beacons were basically necessary, and her first perks were finally not completely bad, with ult accelerants getting reduced use time. That has to be good, no? Wrong. I think as people played her more and more, they discovered the downsides of playing Vantage. Yes, she was great in the early games, where you can just two-shot everyone whenever, and yes, her passive was one of the best scan passives, but those things couldn't make up for what Vantage was bad at, and that was late game, which in every battle royale game means the most. Because her ult was completely unusable in the end game due to the laser being too visible, so most of the times you didn't get your second shot off. Also, her Q was too slow for rotations, so you were just getting beamed out of the sky almost every time. And her second perks were just completely useless, either adding 5 meters to the Q or resetting the Q on ult hit. Also, what didn't help was that almost every scan legend was just better than her, and she just didn't fit the meta. And she will not fit the meta until the meta shifts towards snipers again. So I think her pick rate will just keep getting down and down, just because of the recent buffs to Mirage, where he gets to open any loot bins and scan any beacons. So there is basically no need for a scan legend in this meta. What I think could have been a better buff for Vantage, so she wouldn't have lost almost all of her pick rate, would be making the Q overall just better, with either making it instant without a charge up time, or making her travel faster in the air, or be able to at least slightly strafe mid-air. Or if not that, just get rid of her second perks and make one of them buff the Q with the changes I said a few seconds ago, and the second perk making the ult laser be less visible, so you will be able to use it more in the late game. Anyway, that is everything for me. I hope you enjoyed my rant about my main legend being bad, and I'll see you in the next video. In the background you can see me getting almost a 4k in gold/plat lobbies with Vantage, so if you want to stay for that I'll appreciate it. But otherwise, thank you and see ya.
Může do rychle. Okay, ubral jsem tě nejde.
Druhý tým to pušuje.
Tady budu schovaný, vole, třeba už nově tě zabiju. Ty má dál jedno. Kreklej?
Kreklej. Mám skoro 4K, koukám.
Já mám 1000, vole. Ten kreklej?
Oba krekli. Dám.
Okay. Nice. jsem dělal úplně hovno,
Já jsem byl, bych řekl třeba tak 20 nebo 100 vole od 4K. Kolik? No vole, 180.